want a Chippy Tea. Chippy Tea, Chippy Tea. I want a Chippy Tea. Oh, you keep giving me posh, no, she don't agree with me. I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry Kool-Aid. It's Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.
It's not super bright in here. I'm going to get an electrician to come back and put me double the amount of lights in because it's not ideal. I find myself looking at my prints up close and thinking it's a bit dark. I'm casting a shadow, so I'm going to try and get a few more lights in.
Most people run a ring light around. So a string of LED tubes.
Ah, that's
in like
a really good
in
idea.
like a hexagon shape.
Yeah.
There'll always be a dark spot at the back where you're trying to set up.
Yeah, well, I find if I'm at that back corner and I'm like trying to register a colour, that's where it is. So
You've got
good shout
logo
out.
perfectly placed and everything behind you.
I'll just have to I'll do an episode like that. Oh dear.
Right, what number are we on?
64. I remember that because it reminds me of Nintendo 64.
Are we that old?
Yep.
Right, are you ready? Hold on tight. You suicide rider. The louder you scream, the faster we go. So, let's go. Let's kick off this week's episodes. Episode number 64. You can...
You've only just got up. You can listen in or you can watch and follow us on our journey through this episode where we talk about the goings on of screen printing t-shirts and that shit. All that crap.
much more eloquently put than I could ever have thought of. Yeah.
There's no guarantee. We might go on a tangent, take a shot. We'll probably talk about...
Oh, God. Yeah, what happened to shot
worms or
times?
something. I know. Oh,
Squirrels. Yeah.
how traditions die when it gets to your head, eh?
When you get famous. Yeah.
When you get famous.
So, welcome to episode 64 of the Screen Print Podcast. That is...
Chippy Tea. Woo.
There you go. With me, Tony P from Palm Print, and...
Danny D, Flippy Sweet Print Co.
Okay, you can join us as we prattle along, talking about all sorts of crap to do with screen printing. It used to be me, Palm Print, that was a print consultant travelling around here, there, and everywhere, and Danny, a little manual crafty printer up in Bridge somewhere, just popping out 5 or 6 shirts a week. But if we look behind you, Daniel. Behind you, Daniel, today is not your mum. Behind you is...
My new press.
A nice, shiny new press. She needs a name, by the way.
Ooh. Do you know what? Actually, I do call me presses, and I typically call them after ex-girlfriends. And I won't tell you why.
Well, you've had 2 presses and you've got names.
I ain't actually got an ex yet. So, Haley's going to have to wait at some point, What a dick.
So we need a name then, don't we?
So this one is Lusty Leisha.
Lusty Lisa.
Yeah, no, Leisha with an H.
Oh, right, okay.
And all I can tell you is she is now a full-blown porn star. I've even got a bit of vinyl and just put the word in. I'll be honest, though, I stole that little ideology, and it is genuinely something I've done. My presses, or if I get a new car or van, I have to give it a name. I try to come up with a quirky ex-girlfriend related name, which might be a bit weird, but I don't care. But anyway, I stole that sort of thing from Sebastian Vettel, because he used to name his cars off of girls, and I think at one point it changed to James Bond girls.
Ah, right, okay.
Originally, when he first got going in early days, it was always...
It did, yeah.
Yeah, remember? So that's where I sort of stole it from.
I do remember, yeah.
So, yeah.
All right,
so,
okay. Lusty Leisha. Awesome.
She's a bit of a...
I didn't know where you were going to go with that.
I stopped myself, to be honest. I'm going to say she was... No, I won't say that.
She goes round a bit.
We're off now, lads. We're off. She does get about a bit, aye. I tell you what, I would say, what's the phrase I used? Short-term pain for long-term gain. It's been a
Okay.
hell of a learning curve.
What are we now? We're 2 weeks in.
2 weeks in, it's been a right slap in the face, honestly. There's a lot they don't tell you about going from manual to auto. It's a big transition.
There's a couple of major things here. Number one is when to do it. That's the first one. When to do it. It's the one question I get asked a lot. People have written articles about it. When to do it. Whether you do it too early, whether you've done it too late, whether you can afford it, whether you can't afford it. All these things go through your head. But you've done it, so now the next set of barrage of questions is what do I do? What's the things they don't tell you? So what's the number one thing they don't tell you, Daniel?
Well, I don't know what the number one thing is, but just the learning curve. So, I think the one thing they don't tell you is how much of a. So I bought this press to make my life easier, and the past 2 weeks it's been even harder than it ever has been. I'm so much slower than I could ever. I didn't anticipate how much of a setback the whole process would be. Now that's not a slight on the machine, which is by far the best brand of automatics in the world, as far as I'm concerned. It's just the process. I'm a manual printer. I've done that for 11 years, and getting my head around a machine that does it all for you. The new phrases, the new control panel. The big thing that really caught me off guard was setting my travel distance. And it's just a lack of understanding. There's a black wheel that you click so many directions for the front and rear, which is your squeegee or your flood bar. And I'll be honest, I popped 2 screens. I damaged a couple more, put like little tears in them. And I just couldn't get my head around it. I think I've got it now. I think I'm all right. But
I try and explain travel as the distance that your elbow moves. So that distance, when you're holding a squeegee, and you hold it here off the screen, and then you push it onto the screen. So that's the distance that your elbow travels.
Yeah.
That's your travel.
Yeah.
So how far you push your hands down.
Yeah.
And obviously you're trying to touch the pallet, then you're trying to go a little bit further down. And that's your travel. That how far the squeegee travels.
Yeah. I did a job yesterday, and it was a multicolour job. It was white, print flash print, which is Aquaflex self-leveling, which is basically V3, if we're honest.
Okay, let's jump off at a tangent there then, because you're the first person who's no, you're not. You're the third person who's switched from V2 to self-leveling. What's your opinion?
I like it. It's that little bit better. It's that little bit better. You'll find if you're printing shirts, the majority.
That's a technical analysis. Teresa at Magna Colours. Yeah, I like this, Teresa.
If you want to write that down and quote me, you can.
It's a little bit better.
It's honestly, I've joked about this and playfully brought it up to Teresa and tagged Magna in it a couple of times, and I think they take it as a tongue in cheek. I don't know if
they've not sued you yet. So,
they've not sued me, but honestly, to me, it's V2, but a bit better. It's just an upgrade, and I don't know why they didn't call it V3.
They missed the trick there, didn't they? Yeah, they missed the trick there, didn't they? Yeah.
Because we just want so much more. Oh, there's a new V2. Everybody would have swapped out, but now it's like its own thing. But as far as printing V2 onto shirts, I've found very little difference. It prints the same. It looks pretty much the same. Where I think it does help is, so if you're printing top colours on top of V2, one of the issues that you might come across, especially if you're doing plastisol like me, which is a bit of a cheat, you might get pinholes, which is typically heat related, but you might get. This ink actually does help with that. It's not a cure. You still have to manage your heat, manage your temperatures. There's little ways around how to get it, to eliminate that problem. But I think this helps. I think it has made it that a little bit easier. I think the true test is on fleece, hoodies, or garments with a thick knit, like a heavy t-shirt, because they have quite weavy cotton. That's where I think it'll stand. That's where it stands apart from V2, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, supposed to stop that pinhole. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. But I like it, and it worked out something like about 30 quid difference for a barrel of V2 and a barrel of self-leveling. So I
think it
30 quid.
originally was directed at manual printers, which you're not anymore.
Oh, it's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ironic that you change from being a manual printer and then you buy a product that's directed at manual printers. So, yeah.
I can't see any
seen it over here.
setback, any drawbacks.
There's a big company over here, 100% water-based, and they love it and swear by it and say they've been using it for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know we're out that long, but they've obviously been using it for as long as it's been out.
And they're using it as its own product for its own purpose, or have they replaced V2? Like I've gone down that route.
They pretty much replaced V2 and just used self-leveling as an underbase.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see anyone else who's switched. If you get the same feeling that I do, but it's basically V2 a bit better. But yeah, I like it. Good stuff. I hope I like it because I've got 2 barrels worth. Start hitting that code.
Yeah, better be good. Yeah,
that'll get me by for a while. So where was I going with that? So self-leveling on my white screen, flash print. Now I'm a little bit restricted to this, and you've heard me in the past say you really try to keep your layers of ink to a minimum. Really, you want 2 layers. A white base with your colours on top. Now what I'm having to do more, and it's something I used to do on manual if I had to, or if I were feeling lazy. But now on the auto, I'm sort of restricted to this now. V2, self-leveling, flash print, and then top colours on top. So that's really 3 layers, but you can get away with it with V2 or self-leveling because it's such a thin layer of ink.
So we'll just stop you there and go through and just simplify that a little bit.
I did have a complicate that sentence, didn't I?
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
Not like me.
2 base whites and colours on top.
Basically, yeah.
Flashed in between. So base flash, top colours.
Yeah, top colours all wet and wet. Yeah.
So while we're talking about that, let's go through your press configuration because you've done something that I would advise against.
Yeah.
And when you asked me, I advised against it. And now I have to sit here with my hand up going, no, that actually fucking absolutely works perfectly for you. It works for you. You're quite unique in that you are single owner operator. And I sort of missed a trick here. I never thought of that because these presses are associated with being able to print 3,000 to 5,000 pieces a day with a crew of somewhere between 2 and 4. So they are high production pieces, usually manned fully.
Yeah.
But in your instance, you will probably only ever be manned with you and your friends, which is 0.
The imaginary friends.
You and Leisha on your own in our basement. So in that scenario, you are a single owner operator, pretty much like Sarah and like a couple of other people we know.
Yeah, plenty of us.
So your position of your flash, number one, your flash is not OEM. It's not made by the machine manufacturers.
No.
It's made by Acosgraph, which is our friend Ricardo, who I know listens and watches religiously. So
I know.
Big shout out to
work. They'll be driving to work. Listen to it now.
Big shout out to Ricardo. And so you removed a colour station so that you could insert a C-section flash. So C-section flash is it's on a C bracket and just rolls in and rolls out.
That's right, yeah.
And so you went from 6 colours to 5 colours.
Yeah.
And then last week you made the change?
I made the switch. So like you've just said, the original plan and the original configuration was head. I'm going to say head 1 for purposes of making it easy, but it's actually head 6 because I run it the wrong way around.
I only found out about 3 years ago. Number 1 is always on the right hand side of the loader.
Yeah, that's.
It's a software issue.
Is that what it is?
That they must always number 1 on the right hand side. You can make it run either way, and you can make number 6 your first head.
Yeah.
But they must always, from a mechanical software place, always have the number 1 head, which is not your first, on your right hand side.
Yeah. Well, for the purpose of making it a little bit easier to explain, head 1 was my white station. Head 2 was an empty station, no head. Richard, RP Mech, our mate, our mucker, left it off. I asked him to leave it off. Kurt Von Riptide. I asked him to leave it off for me. So it was literally an empty station, which meant I could wheel my flash over the top. And the only reason I did that was purely because I've got single phase in this building and I couldn't make a MHM flash work. My intention at some point is to put an MHM flash on. Whether that comes in the 12 to 24 month plan, or if that MHM flash just comes when I get a 10.8 or whatever, you know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So basically white flash, and then I had 4 colours. I ran a couple of multicolour jobs, and it was a pain because I didn't have the cooling. I'd actually really, if I wanted to run it properly, one rotation, I'd lose another colour. So I would have been down to white, 3 colours. Yeah, that's right. White and 3 colours, which is no good to me at all. That was a bit of a kick in the teeth. I could have run multi-print and got it round a few more times and got away with it. But I was having problems. And the other problem as well was running multi-print. So if I were printing white, print flash, print white, that's 2 rotations. By the time it's come back around, it had to pass underneath the flash again, which would mean that when it printed the colours, it had been reflashed. So they were hot again, you know, unless I ran around, turned the flash down by hand. Because don't forget, it's not connected to the machine, so it's not a programmable. No, I can't program it to skip it.
It's a dumb flash, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a sensor. It's got a sensor on it. It's very sensitive, and so that was an issue. Now I got away with it once I sort of realised. But what I realised was, hang on, why don't I move my flash, put it on the shirt off palette, which as you can see is there, shirt off, because I'm never going to use it. Or it's not going to be likely that I'm going to have an extra pair of hands, so it's a 2-man press, you know. Mainly because my dryer's not fast enough to get any benefit from it. Because if there were 2 of us on press, the guy offloading is going to be stood waiting for the shirts to come through, unless we sort of cheated and turned the speed up so it would touch dry and then run it through later on in the day. So I moved my flash. I got Richard back down, and he's put my head back on. So the configuration I've got now is where shirt off is, as you can see, that's my flash dryer. I've got my shirt on. Now this is shirt on off, and also a cooling station. You can't really see it, it's off camera. So now I'm running my white in the opposite side. So just before the flash, which is actually head 1, but we'll call it head 6. That's where my white is. So if I run multi-print now, print flash, print white, and then it comes back around, even though it's flashed it a 3rd time, it doesn't matter because there's a cooling station, and then it gets to the colours, and I can now print 5 colours wet on wet. So I've got an 8-6 press, and I can utilise all 6 colours.
Got an 8-7.
All right, I've got an 8-7?
Yep.
Is that what you technically call it now?
That's what you'd technically call it. So there are other manufacturers, Rockmate 1, and they do a 10-9.
10-9, flip it now.
So that there's only one open station for loading and unloading.
Yeah. So I've turned it from
maximum use. You've turned it into an 8-7.
Yeah.
But you're restricted that 7th head can only be a flash.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
in a simplified version.
Yeah. So the benefits, the pros and cons. There's 2 pros and cons. There's 1 each really. The pros is, like I said, I can now print 6 colours really.
Yeah.
The con is if I wanted to run a white, single colour white, if I want to really crank those shirts out, I would use 2 screens in the old configuration. A white just before the flash, so it would print white, flash, and then a screen at the very end of the press to put the top colour of white. That would half the amount of time I can print single colour jobs, because it would be doing 1 rotation, job done. Now I've got to flash print white. There's no other way around it, which is double the time, but it's still fast for me. It's still fast.
Yeah, this is the point I was trying to make. And if the press was on, I'd ask you to do this live. But I don't think it doesn't look like it's on.
It's not on. There's no. I've not even got compressor on.
So yeah, because it'd be too noisy. If the press was on, time how long that 1 revolution takes. So if it's just going round and only flashing, then let's say it's 5 seconds. It stops at 5 seconds. The rotation is less than 1 second.
Yeah.
So let's say it's 6 seconds. It's less than a minute. A minute.
Thumbs up. Less than a minute.
Scratching me arm. They don't do it when I put my thumb up.
Oh.
I'll have to turn that fucker off. So yeah, if it takes an extra minute to produce your shirts, if I was in a production environment, that would cripple me. Because it would be exactly double. So I'd go from being able to produce 3,000 shirts to 1,500 shirts. So that configuration would cost me physically 1,500 shirts.
Yeah.
If I'm getting £1 for every shirt, it's cost me 1,500 quid to set that configuration like that.
Yeah.
In your scenario, you're not at the high number of frequency of prints.
No.
You're at automating the process of pulling the ink through the screens.
Yeah.
So in that configuration, I don't think that minute is too much time to pay. I think that's a good price to pay.
Yeah, it's not end of world for me personally.
No.
It's not ideal. I am a little bit down about it, like only a tiny bit, that I've lost the option to have 2 white screens. But we'll see how it goes. It's not a big change. If I decided, you know what, I'm going to put it back to the way it was, it's not end of world. Just get Richard to come down and cost me a few £100 or whatever to swap it. But I can run it for a while, see how I get on and see how I feel. I did just short 200 shirts, front and back, in about 3 hours of a day. Now that probably sounds really slow to some people, but that for me, that's probably a 2-day job.
I'm going to say you've got to look at it. I've forgotten the word. From your point of view, yeah. Because from your point of view, that is a huge step forward, and your arms aren't hanging off.
Yeah, this is it.
Your feet aren't sweaty in them horrible Crocs that you wear. But from your perspective, that's the word I was looking for. From your perspective, then it's
I'm going to send
actually.
you some for Christmas.
I'll never wear them. My son's got them, and it's like, you need to wear these. They're really comfy. And then all family's got them. I'm like, I'm not. No. Now it's the point. Now it's just a stubborn old man thing. I'm like, I can see everybody wearing them, but I'm not wearing them now because I've said that.
Out of spite.
just to spite myself. So, from your perspective, it's twice as fast, 3 times as fast. If it used to take you 2 days to do that, and you're doing it in 3 hours,
it's over double.
Not only are you doing it in 3 hours, but you're also, your arms are hanging off from pulling a squeegee 600 times.
Physically, I was struggling towards the end of the manual printing.
I mean, your fingers used to lock up. You get that cramp in your thumb,
in my shoulders and my back and my neck, and just standing as well. I went through hip problems. I had hip problems, and I had knee problems and ankle problems from standing at the same spot and pressing a pedal thousands of times with my foot, because I was sort of like balancing and putting loads of weight on one knee. So physically, it was an issue, and it's demoralising when you're in physical pain from trying to do your job that you've been doing for 11 years, that you absolutely love and you want to get the most out, but you're in pain and your aches and pains, and these long jobs, you're not looking forward to it. You get no enjoyment out of it.
They're physically demanding. Yeah.
It just messes the whole thing up for you. So it had to happen. And if John actually said to me when we were talking about it, he said, so basically you're getting an auto to save your arms. And I said, yeah. I said, if that is all I get out of it, I'll be happy. I'll be happier than I am right now, and it will be worth it. But that's not true. That's not the truth. The truth is, yeah, but I'm getting so much more out of it. I am faster, a lot faster than I ever were. I've got so much more control over the print and the quality, and that's only getting better. I don't understand the machine properly yet. I've not had the experience. I've had 2 weeks of pulling my hair out and looking at it and going, why are you doing that? I don't understand. But I'm getting to a point now, as we speak, maybe even as close as yesterday. I did a print yesterday, and it was a multicolour job. And I held them up and I said, that's as good as what I would have produced upstairs. That's as good. Now, I know that's a limited experience. Give me another couple of weeks, I'll be improving that. I'll be getting jobs out faster and improved quality than I ever possibly could.
You'll get to that quality quicker. That's the thing. You will get to that level of quality that you're happy with a lot faster because it's repeatable. The whole point of automating any process, whether it's printing or making screens or whatever, is it's repeatable. You now know the parameters, the settings that you need to put in. Now, what I tell people is when we're looking for an optimal setting, you have to make it fail. And they look at me, what do you mean? We have to make it fail. Otherwise, where do you know where the failure point is?
To dial it back, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to find that failure point, and finding a failure point means making it print bad.
Yeah.
Once you find that failure point, then you know where you've got your line in the sand, and you can work up from it. But you have to find it first, and you're finding all your failure points.
Yeah, that's right. I think the way I sort of feel about it is I've not achieved finesse yet, because I don't understand where those failure points are yet. I'm finding the failure points. I'm getting closer towards that point. Like I say, I did a print yesterday, multicolour, which I would have held up off of the manual and said, I'm happy, that's a good print.
Good.
Once I can add that little bit of finesse, the extra bit of, if I dial the travel back, if I dial the pressure back or the pressure up, or if I change this blade, or if I run it at this angle, I'll get that little bit extra out of it. That's what I'm missing right now. But that'll come with time. That's what I'm learning as we go. Whether that's weeks or months, it don't really matter, because I'm where I was in terms of quality, and I can only improve on that as I go forward.
Yeah, it's just exposure to a new process. You know, you basically you have gone the other way to what normal people go. So what I would normally say, I've got a machine operator, but they are not a printer. So a machine operator will understand the nuances of the machine. They'll know what all those buttons and everything do, but they've probably never made a screen.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of this back in the early days in black and white. I used to say I was a printer, and I dropped into a place that was making his own screens and doing his own films, and got his own darkroom where he's making films with a camera and letraset.
God.
And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know anything about this process. All I know is where the big green start button is and the big red stop button.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like you've gone the other way. You understand all the nuances of making a screen, making a film, doing the artwork, getting it on press, setting the blade, setting the feel, getting that tactile feedback of everything. And now you've got to couple that with, the fuck does multiprint do?
Yeah.
What's squeegee delay front? What's that do?
There's so much to it. It just takes a while to get your head around it. I think that's a big thing. I think if at some point you're going to make that switch from a manual to an auto, account for a lot of downtime. Don't buy one in your busiest time of year, which is what I did, because it's going to cost you, and it has cost me. I've had to replace shirts. I've got customers who are now a little bit on edge with me because it's pushing on a bit now. But like I say, short-term pain for long-term gain. And from this point onwards, even though I've had 2 weeks of delays and barely getting jobs out the door, the speed at which I am now is accelerating. So I'll catch up. I did set a goal of I wanted to be caught up by end of November, which is tomorrow, which is today actually, so that failed. But it'll come. I'll have a clear schedule for Christmas. I won't be pulling my hair out trying to make it like I usually do, I don't think. I'll probably have time to get a few extra jobs in, which I wouldn't normally do. Normally now, the 30th of November, last day of November, I'd be putting an Instagram post up saying, that's
No
it.
more orders.
Can't do any more. And you know what? That would be the start of almost a solid month, maybe even close to 2 months, no money, not a penny. Because January is slow. January typically starts off quite slow, and you find people want to order back end of January. So you can be knocking on the door for close to 2 months without seeing a penny. And that's after the stress and physical pressure and exertion it takes to finish in time for Christmas. You go from that high, an absolute, whatever, stress or whatever, to the total opposite. Oh, I can't keep up. I'm too stressed up. There's so much of it. To holy shit, I am skint now. I'm not making a penny. I'm supposed to be relaxing over Christmas, but I'm not. I'm pulling my hair out thinking I've got to get some orders in January.
I ain't got no money. Yeah.
So this hopefully will alleviate that situation. I'll level everything out, and I can have a nice Christmas for a change.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You got your present early. That's the only thing.
I did, yeah.
So yeah, I you're on a learning curve journey really, and it's it's the same one everybody goes through. Switching from manual to automatic, it's a different set of rules. You're still playing the same game, but it's just a different set of rules now.
Yeah.
Different playing field.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to? Shall we have a run through a couple of the little problems I've had before we touch on where you are?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I wrote them down. Let's have a look.
Yeah, because I might be captain spreadsheet, but you are note taker extraordinaire.
I am actually. So one of the learning curves were ink management. So it is absolutely amazing how often I'm having to run to that screen to scoot ink back up to the centre of the screen. So I've got to get winged flood bars, and I'm hoping that'll solve that problem.
It won't solve it, but it will reduce it.
Yeah, do it less.
It will reduce it. So winged flood bars are great if you get the right size. Make sure you don't get them too big, otherwise you just end up with another bigger line at the side of them. And ink management, yeah, I noticed this when I travel around, especially from manual printers. They want to use the absolute bare minimum amount of ink possible. Because when you've got your squeegee in your hand, you're in total control of where the ink is. You can tilt your squeegee, you can pull it in from the sides without getting your hands dirty, without touching the scraper card, without having to use a spatula. You can really control the ink.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put that much ink in. And when I go to a printer's that's gone straight from manual, I'm like, you've got a paper cup full of ink.
Yeah.
It's like a paper cup like this, and we've got 100 shirts to do. You're not going to do 100 shirts with that. Well, it won't use any more than that, will it? No, you're right. It absolutely won't use more than that.
Unless you've got plenty in.
My recommendation for a minimum amount of ink to just sit between the flood bar and the squeegee is 250 grams.
Let me show you what I think. So this pot,
1,000 grams?
Probably. I feel like I'll load that in the screen, the entire pot, and then I could almost get a few test prints running, and by the time that test print's done and I'm registered, another. And then it'll run. Pretty well. So you're really putting a lot of ink. This is a V2 or self-leveling I'm talking about. Plastisol, obviously, nowhere near as much. But for water-based, that's what I feel.
It climbs up the squeegee a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Because at the minute it's running it to the sides and you're getting big, long chunks of ink. Every few prints you're having to go around and scrape it.
We'll have to get that double blades tested because that's got
to let it come
holes
through.
and a curl. so that the ink doesn't run up the squeegee. It actually goes onto the next blade. So we'll have to try that.
That'd be interesting. See if we can get
Get
hold of
yourself
one.
one of them.
See if we can get hold of one. But my
For
mate,
testing purposes, we're not buying it because we're from Yorkshire.
I said we'll test it for now.
Yeah, from virus.
My mate Anita's having a look though. She's going to see if she can get me some winged flood bars. Anita at MHM, that is. Anita, won't it be good to meet her if she finds me some winged flood bars? Made a song for her. So she don't do it now.
Musical.
You know?
Yeah, she's got to do it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I've learned, that you do have to put a lot more ink in when it comes to water-based and probably even plastisol as well, compared to what you would on a manual. Because like you say, I just get my squeegee and I typically do like a little
squiggle
it back into the centre every time. So that's something new that I'm having to deal with and adapt. Now, would you say winged flood bars 100% for water-based, which would be my whites? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think it's helpful for plastisol as well? Or do you think it's not? I think it's
helpful. I think it's helpful for plastisol as well.
Yeah.
I think winged flood bars should be the norm.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think plastisol is less of a problem, but it's still going to help, isn't it? So I guess.
Yeah, definitely going to help. Just make sure that you don't get the wing too big.
Yeah, well, this was we measured it. So my current flood bars
are 40 centimetres.
Yeah, they are actually 40 centimetres. So really, I want my wings to come off of 40 centimetres to match my squeegees. But that's getting really close to edging my screens, like a centimetre towards the frames.
On that size press, it's also very close to the arms that come off the press.
Yeah, it is very close.
So your left and right arms, you'll only have about 5 mil either side.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight, which worried me a little bit.
Yeah.
But the next one down's like 36, and then you're not getting your length of your squeegee.
No.
But does that matter?
Yeah, you need to be at least equal to the level at the width of your squeegee.
Yeah. So so the solution that we sort of came to, me and V, off air, is bend them in slightly.
Just a little. Yeah.
Should we not say that? Is that a bit?
No, not really. But it's a bit too late now.
I didn't edit these. I can edit it out if it's a bit.
No. Yeah, just manipulate them to fit your
tweak
the unique problem.
Just tweak it.
Yeah.
Do people use bigger screens than me on autos? Typically.
Yeah. So that size press will take a 23 by 31 inch screen.
That's what I use, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And
the next one up is a 25 by 36.
Right.
So it's an extra 5 inches longer. I have no idea why we switch like we do from inches to centimetres, because I can't even tell you the centimetres of that press that you've got there. But I know it's 23 by 31 screens.
Yeah.
And then 25 by 36 is the next one up, typically used by fashion printers or larger area printers rather than promotional printers. And then, you remember our mate Alex?
Yeah.
He gets another 3 inches on the back of his screens.
Oh, he does, right.
So that he gets the full print stroke length. It's just that they're not standard frames. So if you're buying your frames from someone who's buying them pre-made, those bespoke frames are more expensive. Now, if you're actually in touch with the guy who does manufacture his own frames, weld and make his own frames, then he'll make them whatever fucking size you want. It makes no difference to it.
Have you ever had any of his frames as well? But he uses a thicker, heavier duty tubing. Impressive. Because he sent me a couple. He said, "Look, I've been sending my frames, which is just a shit mix of random frames from all the different suppliers that I've collected over the year, and I just have them remeshed." He said, "Look, if you ever want to just get new frames, try these." And he sent me a couple, and they are night and day different. so much better. And I imagine because of a more heavier duty, the old tension better because there'll be less flex, less chance of them angling, whatever the word is. You know what I mean?
So I had this conversation only 2 days ago.
I did.
And somebody's perception of it was they become like an old tin can, thin and squashed.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is you can buy the section in different thicknesses of wall. So the wall thickness, the optimum is 2 mil.
Yeah.
Most people use 1.6.
Yeah.
And if you buy your frames pre-made from somewhere like China, they come down to 1.3 and 1.4. So 1.4 mil box section. It's okay for a single use when you buy it and everything, but then, the screen, the mesh is constantly pulling, and we get this warp like this, so we get a shape. Not so much on small screens, but absolutely definitely as that long edge gets bigger. When that long edge gets bigger, it gets huge. That curve inwards, because it's constantly getting pulled inwards.
Yeah.
There was a solution at one point. They changed the square box section to triangular box section.
All right. I've never seen that before.
So the triangular box section is fundamentally stronger, so much stronger that it won't bend. And who was it? Used to trial them. I think it was Sis. Used to trial them, and they were exceptionally strong, but super heavy. So super heavy and expensive. People were like, well, it wasn't that big a problem. I'm all right. Save me £5. I'm okay.
Right, the sound of them. I guess the only downside to the heavy is shipping. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, and handling. You forget how many times you pick up a screen. If they're 30% heavier, then your little girly muscles are protesting now. And they're not holding a squeegee anymore.
I know. I think it's been first time in about 3 years, 2, maybe even 3 months. I've not been in gym or anything. I'm shrinking. It's horrible. It's all been this, and then I had the chest infection and COVID and all that shit. So first time in 3 years. I'll tell you what, it's amazing how much difference it makes to how much of a stress reliever it is, and how therapeutic it is. And I miss that. And I went in gym with our early last Saturday for the first time in, like I say, 2 or 3 months. And I thought, I miss this. I'm dying, but I miss this, and I need this as a regular thing in my life because it makes such a therapeutic difference to and you work better. You work better for it if you've got that little bit of summit to switch off and just get it all out your system. When you do come back to work, you're so much better for it. So now that it's in, now that it's settled, now that I'm almost got my head around it, get back to some sort of normal life, I think.
What else is on your list?
On my list, problems. I thought you meant my Christmas list. I've done it. Santa's bin.
You've got it, yeah.
Registering at first, pain in the arse, couldn't get my head around it, I was struggling. And that's just, again...
Did you Anatole have up and down on left and right hand side?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that people struggle with.
Yeah, just a different way.
Your pivot now is more in the centre rather than at the end.
Yeah.
So you're twisting the screen around a central fixed point rather than a fixed point at the end where you're tilting it like a window wiper. Almost.
I've gone from window wiper to
central. Central like that.
It's like a fish in the water. That's a really bad analogy.
I'll go with it.
But yeah, like at first, and the other thing is as well, none of the heads were referenced to the relatively registered. Now, because I've registered a few jobs, if I don't touch my knobs, which has always been a problem I've had, if I don't touch my knobs,
just to make you wear mittens in bed.
Just not some gloves, actually. Now that I've done a few jobs, they're sort of in the right place relatively. Now I ain't got digital to screen yet. Probably not for a while actually.
What was that word then?
Listen, I manifested that bugger, so if we can, but that's not on my priority list. It's down a little bit for now. So using the film positioning unit, which I also got, I'm going to be starting from a really close to registration. It's just little tweaks here and there on each screen, and I'm hoping as time goes on, when I chuck my screens and my press, the registration process is just going to be that much quicker.
I've just come from a place with a film positioning unit, and like yours is a table like that. They've put it on the wall.
Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, that took way less space up. Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, it takes no space at all. They've mounted it on the wall.
Did they sort of come up with their own little jig, little brackets to hold it on?
Yeah, 2x4.
2x4. Oh, I might try that. That is because
2x4. Stick it on the wall, and it just takes no space up in their dark room at all.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the idea. I must admit.
Yeah. I think I might do that actually because it takes a lot of space up. It's obviously it's a freestanding unit with legs and stuff, and it does take a fair chunk of space up. But I like the system. I'm glad I got it.
Listen, for years, film positioning unit was the only way to go. Before digital to screen, the film positioning unit was the thing that made the MHMs so good. And the more time that you spent aligning those crosses, the less time you spent on press.
Yeah.
And I do have a customer in Texas who meticulously, with a loop, sets his screens in the screen room. And like you say, now that the frame holders are all in the same place relative to each other, there's no setup. There's no setup.
Yeah, well, that's good. That makes me feel better about it because that means I can get pretty close to barely any setup. It'll never be computer to screen level, but it won't be far off.
You can get damn close if you take an extra. Let's say you take an extra minute on each screen.
Yeah,
that can pay back so much faster because you could spend an extra 10 minutes registering the actual screens themselves.
Yeah.
But you have to be very OCD about it, and I'm not sure you've got OCD enough, Dan.
Probably not. Probably fair.
You fucking have. You're almost anal about it.
I'm going to chuck a loop in that.
Put my hand up when I'm being sarcastic.
I will. I'll put a loop upstairs, actually. That's a good idea, that. I didn't think of that. I do take my time with it. So, like I say, I think the process, brand new press, the big issue for me was getting all those screens in a line with each other relative to each other. Now that that's sort of there, I am registering a lot faster. But I also had to go back to basics a little bit. And you reminded me of this because I was pulling my hair out. I was like going back and forth, overshooting it, not getting it quite right. I went back to basics. Put some clear application tape over my white print, my base print. And then it was a case of print, bring it back out, no, wipe it off, nudge it, go back in. That made my life a lot easier. And it was,
you have to get used to the feel of how much to turn it. On the MHM press, one of the things about the registration is there is no throw. So there is no dead spot.
Right.
It's either all left or all right. When you change direction, there is no catch up or throw. And the thickness of the thread is like the same quality you'd find on a lathe. So therefore, one full turn of the knob will move the design 1 millimeter. So once you get used to that and you know exactly that, okay, I'm going to change it, I'm going to turn it 15 minutes on a clock face. That's around about one cock hair. And 2 cats cock hair is about 30 minutes on a clock face.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's those are the little things, the little bits of feeling and just knowing how far to turn. That just comes with time and practice. And that's what I'm missing. And that's what I mean when I say I'm missing finesse. I can't register with finesse. I can't print with finesse yet. But it'll come.
That's because you're not allowed to hit it with an hammer.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've never done that, ever, even on a manual.
Liar.
No.
Liar. You hit it with a squeegee.
I remember one of the things that when we first started
You bent it with your belly.
Yeah, to be fair, I just when it swings back round, it just knocks it back into place. Hey, God. One of the things that sort of struck me when we first started this podcast was how many times you referred to manual shops with an actual hammer. It'd be labelled M&R hammer or a workhorse hammer or whatever.
Precision adjustment
A
tool.
precision adjustment tool. And I thought,
Yeah.
like, I've honest to God never done that. And I can see why people do it, but I couldn't hit a press with an hammer. It's not going to last.
They hit the screen.
Well, the screen's hit the screen.
But yeah, it's
No
it's
wonder
a
you've
quick
got
fix.
registration issues. You're knocking it into a diamond shape.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah. You can tell if you get a screen that's been owned by an M&R press, an M&R shop, you'll see the little hammer ring marks on the bottom corners every time.
God. Right, problem number 4. Why won't you? I have put the words. Why won't you flood cunt? I don't know exactly what that is. I had a 2-hour issue where the press, no matter what I did, would not flood.
Is this the one you sent me?
Yeah, and I was pulling my hair out. I think if you listen to the voice notes, I was like, for fuck's sake, what's going on?
Yeah.
I had enough that day. And anyway, what I'd done, I thought I could set the press to. So when you adjust your screen settings or your head settings, you can change how many floods and how many prints. And I thought, going back to the manual, I thought I could flood once, print twice. So what it actually did every time, so I'd set that, and I'd set it running, and then I'd watch it, and then it'd just flood thin air like an inch off a screen. And now, honestly, I've not got that much left air-wise at back. It's all at back, it's gone. Just because of that day. And what it turns out is it's a software limitation. You can't do that. It has to be 2-2. Or I think you said actually you could do.
So it has to equal an even number.
Yeah.
So they both must add up to an even number. Otherwise, you are starting where you finished.
Yeah.
So if you have a 2 and a 1, that adds up to 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. You finish where in the wrong place.
Right.
So now it tries to print with the metal bit on the next one. So you must have an equal number. So 2 and 2 is perfect. It will flood, drop, print, lift, flood, drop, print, lift. What you're trying to do is a 3 and 1.
Yeah.
So the 3 and 1, because 3 and 1 both add up to 4, then what that will do is flood, drop, print, return, which is flood with it in the air, so it doesn't actually flood through the screen, and then print again. So you can do a 3 and 1, but you can't do a 2 and 1 because 2 and 1 adds up to 3.
Yeah. Well, that took me a few hours to work out.
Yeah, it must always equal. So the 3 and 1 is a bit of a cheat from the old 5,000, well, the old 3,000 days. So the old big beastly machines has got all the auto electronic registration and on, built for fashion printers to take an absolute beating. The arms are made from girders that you make buildings out of. The proper big strong machines. What they do is they lift all of the screens all at once on the main carousel.
Right.
And that takes a good second for it to activate, drop, hit, slow down, and then hit the sensor. So the printers found out that by doing this 3 and 1 setting, what they can do is avoid that extra second it takes to lift.
Right.
Now, your press has got the little cylinders on, which are specifically designed to be fast. So that lift and lower is only now about a quarter of a second.
So fast, yeah.
So you don't save much time, but you do gain the extra sort of feature of what you described as a double pull but single flood.
Yeah. Something I used to do at manual. I'd flood, so if I put it in white, Aquaflex white, it would be flooded. Pull it once, I wouldn't reflood, I'd have to pull it again. It just properly cleared that screen. If it didn't clear, and if it didn't clear it first time, it cleared it the second. But whether I go back to using that feature or not, I don't think I will. I think what I was trying to achieve was, so if I print flash print self leveling V3,
I think we should call it V3.
I'm going to keep calling it V3, I think. I'm trying to endear to Teresa's good side so that she'll jump on board and sponsor us, along with MHM Direct. Which, if you're in the market for a new MHM, you know to get in touch with. Get in touch with John, Anita, Richard. Tell me the sons' names. Jordan. There's another. What's with MHM?
Josh.
Get in touch with the guys at MHM Direct, and they've been really good to sponsor the Chippy Tea podcast. And they make the best machine. Well, MHM make the best machines in the world. Pull, hook, and stop. So if that's not an endorsement for you, MHM, I don't know what it is.
Do you want to do it subtly, or do you want to be all out?
I'll just slip that in there. So what I will try to do, Teresa, if you're listening and would like to see your logo alongside, I was trying to flash print. So I'll try to print my first white 2-2. 2 floods, 2 prints. So you're hitting that base twice, which is sort of a standard thing to do with a Aquaflex V2 or V3. But the second time around, when I wanted to put a print on top, really I want to print it once. I just want to one flood, 1 print. And you can't do that. It's not a setting you can do unless you add it on another screen. If I had 2 screens in, I could achieve that. But if you try to use the same one screen for white, you can only set it 2-2, and then every rotation, they'll hit it twice, and then they'll hit it twice again. So that's why I was playing with one flood, 2 prints. Because I was getting the second time around, I was getting a sticking. I was getting that grandma's kiss. So that's what I was trying.
I'm using that now. I'm using that every day. Like your grandma's kiss, and they all look at me like, what?
And then they grab you. Hey, God. So that's what I was trying to solve. But actually, my configuration has resolved that problem. I'm not getting any. I'm not getting any granny's kisses or anything now. It's perfect. And I will say this as well, not to big me own horn up. I big me own horn up. Just made a saying up.
I'm letting it go. I'm just letting it. I'm going to pick it up. I thought, no, I'll let it go.
I won't give it attention. Best way.
No.
Don't give them attention, and then they'll just.
No. Don't feed it.
I'm finding it quite. I'm finding wet on wet quite comfy, and that's probably because I've spotted you for about 600 million hours, and I know. I know several, at least the basics of how to overcome wet on wet.
We got some good tips. Yeah, we got a good basis to work from. Yeah.
So I'm really happy with that, because that was obviously something that is a scary transition. Because you can you're very limited. You're very rarely going to print wet on a manual, because you're not a machine.
It's got to go around the flash anyway.
It's got to go
around the flash anyway.
It's got to go around. You might as well, and you're not a machine. You can't. Obviously, if you're doing CMYK, it's very difficult to do, because you can't hold that squeegee the same every time. You can't do it. It's like, you're kidding yourself if you think you can.
You're trying to print like a machine. The whole time you're printing manually, you're trying to print like a machine does.
Yeah. And now I've got the machine to do it for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. So.
Is that your list? Got one more?
I mean, my last one was my press configuration, but we've talked that one. Going from shirt to fleece. That's not a. I feel like I've done it, I've got away with it, but I'm not getting perfect results. So I feel like there is an extra step involved now, where if you do a run of 100 shirts and the bloke says, stick an hoodie in for me, there's a change on press, and I'm sure it's just off contact that needs to be made to accommodate the fleece now. Whereas on a manual, I'd have just pressed it, I'd have just printed it and done it by hand, by field,
Yeah.
So there's a bit of extra.
Yeah, it's off contact. It's more ink, basically.
Yeah.
We're falling into one of those 2 camps of more or less ink. So it's a little bit of off contact, a little bit of squeegee pressure. Maybe this is where a double hit cheat, if you like, comes in.
Yeah.
And I want a little bit more ink, so I'll single hit the T's and double hit the sweats.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as easy now as just chucking a hoodie on and let it run round. I think
no, because you're not getting that same sort of feedback you would normally get.
Yeah, you have to anticipate it, prepare for it, and maybe it's time to be a little less free with those type of favours. Oh, you can't chuck a nudie in for us, can you? No, not really anymore. Because it's
Yeah, just say no.
just say no. Hashtag just say no. Right then,
Grange Hill.
we've had an hour. Where you been? Or where are you, should I say?
I'm back where I was a couple of weeks ago. Back in New York.
New
I'm in
York.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island, New York. I've got 2 jobs here to do. Not being yet. It's only 7 a.m, so I'm about to hit this guy. Well, here's the similarity. So this guy has never printed before and has bought a press.
All right, well, never printed.
Like not missed the manual bit out.
Wow, flipping hell.
So the
Pros and cons,
the
I
text
guess.
that I've got a Guatemalan Richard called Rodrigo over here, and he spoke to me and said, "Look, Tony, you need to go see this guy. We've fit the press. We've shown him where all the buttons are. We've told him what everything does, but he's got no real concept of what a screen and a squeegee are." Which makes you think, why the fuck did I buy these presses? But that's another story for another day. But obviously, he's seen some sort of guru get out of an ice bath and say, "You should buy an automatic press," and he's gone out and bought it. So I shall let you know. I don't know yet. I'm in about 20 minutes' time. I'll be going to see him and see exactly where we're at. But we're starting from scratch.
Pros and cons.
This is what have I been? I've been here 6 weeks or so now. In
Yeah,
America,
you have
5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I have gone everywhere from Florida to Minneapolis, where it was -10.
Well,
10 below.
feels like that here now, to be fair.
In real money.
Yeah.
In real money, not in Fahrenheit shit. Fahrenheit shit is still +5 or something.
Yeah.
Over here, it's really, really cold at the minute. Back on the northeast coast, so a bit like you, northeast coast.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. But this will probably be my last week. So
Oh, it is.
Well, I've got what day are we on? Thursday. So I've got Thursday, Friday, then I've got the weekend, and then I've got another job with another big customer in New York, and then that should be it. Then it should be homeward bound.
Homeward bound. Are you going to get a bit of chill time? Chill time at home.
Well, I'm trying to, but
People keep knocking on your door saying, "Gives a couple of days."
Well, and that doesn't normally happen. And I've been really looking forward to getting back from this trip and having a bit of downtime. The phone's been melting. People have it's been ringing off the hook for people wanting to squeeze something in before Christmas, squeeze something in after Christmas, and try and get as much as I can. So I can't complain.
Can't complain. It's a real skill,
that's
you
what
know.
we do it for.
It's a real skill to learn to say no, and it's something it took me a lot of years.
I'm a proper people pleaser. I'm struggling.
Yeah, I was a people pleaser, and I think when you've got that personality trait, saying no is really difficult. Even though you know I'm going to struggle to do this, you say I'll do it, thinking, with all the best intentions, I'll find a way to make it work. It bites you on the ass every time. But
well, I was landing into England on the Monday morning, and then flying out to Austria on the Monday night. So I was considering not even going home, just sitting in the airport for 12 hours.
2 seconds, mate. You couldn't get your coppers with you, weren't they? Sorry, mate. Parcel post turned up.
It's all right. It allowed me to expand frame, and if you expand frame,
Yeah.
have you tried it? Have you tried expand frame?
Minimise frame. I can see your pillars. Can't see how crazy.
No, but you can. It does go stupid wide. I can now see TCB on wall. I can see your toolkit. I can see head 1 to head 6.
You almost see it full press. You'll just be that corner. You can't see.
I can see it full press.
It's a shame.
So when I'm on minimum, I can only just see X-Type Plus.
Yeah.
But if I go, if I click on you and make it bigger, which it won't fucking do.
Yeah, it is awkward, isn't it, to toggle through it.
Expand frame. It just goes.
You can see when I edit it,
you've tried to
I edit it. When I edit it to fully fit the frame. but there's no reason I can't see it to wide, but you just have a black border. And I thought it didn't look right good.
Yeah.
So if you want me to leave them wide, I can do, but just so people can see your pillars.
Yeah. Stay like that.
Right, sorry, I interrupted you. You were telling me Austria. You could have got home and gone straight to Austria.
So yeah, I'm supposed to go to CMHM in Austria.
Hell of a bunch of guys.
They are. I'm running out of time on which to do it in because obviously they want to break for Christmas and everything, and so the best time was on the Monday that I landed at 6 o'clock in the morning. I land at Heathrow, and then to stay in the airport for about 12 hours and catch the evening flight over to Munich, and then get the train from Munich up to Austria to arrive Austria on Tuesday, which means I would have sort of like got on the plane on Sunday and not got off till Tuesday.
Too much,
just a little bit too much. So
there's only so much you can put yourself through, and
yes, I'm gonna try and wangle it so I get home for at least 12 hours.
At least 12 hours.
Stroke dog and then leave again.
Yeah. Well, make sure you get plenty of time off over Christmas, and
that's the plan now. It's a nice problem to have sometimes when the phone keeps ringing and people want work here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But we'll get through it.
Yeah. So Long Island, 124 mile. Did you know that? 124 mile long. And did you?
I didn't know. I don't know anything about Long Island. Will you do me a favour? Will you have a look at some facts and see if you can find out anything out about Long Island?
Well, funny you should say that. Do you know Long Island actually in Ireland? So in 1985, the US Supreme Court ruled that Long Island is actually a peninsula.
It's a peninsula, yeah. Because it's attached, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's. I think it. Obviously, I've not written this fact down. This is another fact I saw. But I think if you were to, if it was a state, it'd be the third biggest state in America. Something along those lines. This is one I didn't write down, but I did see it. Something like that.
I think that might be New York State. Is a big state.
I don't know. Jaws was based on a shark caught just off of Long Island.
Right, okay, I didn't know that.
4,500-pound great white shark caught by.
That's 4.5 ton.
Montauk-based shark fisherman Frank Mundus in 1964.
There you go. You learn something new every day. Welcome to Flipping Sweets Learn
And
Corner.
now you know all about Long Island. That's it.
You never mentioned
I didn't
tea
see
once.
any tea-related facts. So whether it's...
No?
Is it a big thing over there? I mean, I've heard of Long Island tea, but is that just a brand? Did they invent it or something? I don't know. Didn't see much.
We'll have to leave that for another day.
That was well researched.
I miss these little bits that you do.
Yeah, well, do you know what, Chippy? Now I've got a little bit less fog and stress and things running around my head. I think Chippy Tea will be all the better for it because I can talk shit to you and come up with random facts.
Yeah,
because I've got the capacity.
I want Chippy Tea Trip Advisor to make a massive return.
Well, I'll put that on my list.
Oh, Tony, you're in Nantucket. Did you know that Nantucket is famous for? I missed those.
What was that nursery rhyme?
I don't think it was a nursery rhyme, but I know where you're going with it.
Yeah. My nursery were a bit rough.
Yeah, we're a bit rough in Cass, I should imagine.
Well, actually, yeah, Meffley.
Oh God, yeah.
So, what you like for time? Are you knocking on the door with ready to head out to work?
We've got to go. Yeah.
Right. Well, episode 64.
I've got to give a quick rinse and
quick squatty shower.
Off to find
squatty shower.
Little squatty shower with a baby wipe. Yeah.
Oh God.
and then off to see this geezer. And,
See a geezer about a dog.
We'll see what today brings.
To see a geezer about a dog.
Yeah, see what today brings.
Well, do you know what? I think, like I said earlier, pros and cons. Bought all this gear, no idea. But it's a fresh mind who can be taught the auto world from the off. That old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm finding the transition difficult. But if it was a fresh mind, maybe it would have been that little bit easier. I don't know. Maybe. We'll find out.
One of the questions I get asked is 65, yeah. One of the questions I get asked, and it was a feature in this month's, November's Images magazine, was whether it's better to buy a printer or make a printer.
Might have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been out. Today's episode's just come out. But whether to buy a printer or make a printer, and it's always better to make a printer, because if you buy a printer, so if you take on someone from another shop, before you teach them anything, you have to deprogram them. You have to remove all their bad habits and take apart what they think they already know before you put in the new skills. And that's what we're doing with you. We're having to deprogram you from a manual printer before we reprogram you as an automatic printer. Now, I will stand here and upset people, but I think a manual printer is more skilled than an automatic printer, because an automatic printer can be just a machine operator, but it is still a different set of skills. So you have to take away, deprogram, erase, defragment some of the information that you've been storing over all these years while you're holding a squeegee. And we've got to replace it with knowledge of how to clip a squeegee in without breaking it, and never trust the little fucker. And then
make sure it clicks.
And use those new skills. Never trust the little fucker. It's my new saying.
Yeah.
So then, and basically use new skills, a new set of skills.
I think I can sort of put that into real life terms. I would never. I've really struggled with the idea over these years of employing somebody to stand on that press upstairs for me, because I know how long it takes to learn the process and how difficult it is. It would have been so counterproductive, I always thought, to have took that option. I don't think I'd have the same hesitation on this. I think it would be a much smoother learning curve to turn somebody into a press operator, I think.
Yeah.
That's how I feel at the moment.
It's because it's solid physical things that you're changing, not a feel or an idea or some feedback. It's not. It doesn't care whether the sun's retrogrades in Venus. It's all about. Put it on number 5. It always works.
I mean,
put it on number 2. It always
could even
works.
go as far. You could even go as I come in, registered jobs, and then it's just a literal press operator. I get them ready.
Yeah, once it's set, that's
on.
it, done. There's no reason why, if you've got 100,000 prints, if you set up that first print, there's no reason why the 100,000th print is any different to that first one.
As long as you're keeping up with things.
None at all.
And, you don't accidentally miss. I did that the other day. I forgot to put a shirt on a pallet. Threw the whole thing off. I got away with it, just about.
Did you print a pallet?
Oh, loads. There's one near. Every pallet's got a print on. And I tell you something now.
So now you
I've not signed a single fucking one.
All right, I think on that note.
Oh God.
On that note, we're going to leave it. You have been listening to and watching me, Tony Palmer from Palm
Danny
Print,
and from the Flippy Sweet Print Co. with his great nice new fancy X-Type. So yeah, see you later.
Which is the best sign-off I've ever heard. So don't forget, like, subscribe, tell your friends, bully people, drop us in somebody's Christmas stocking. We need all that confirmation because we've got really fragile egos. So and catch us next time.
Au revoir.
All that remains to say is
all the best.
I'll see you there. See you later.
Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.